Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Hope everyone is well. This week's parsha is Parshas Chukat, which is my bar mitzvah parsha. I have no recollection of what I said at my bar mitzvah drasha 39 years ago. I think I spoke about Paraduma, but I really don't remember at all. What I do remember is I remember when I was having my bar mitzvah, I went to the bathroom before Shachris in the shul. I was very, very nervous. I washed my hands, and there was paper towels, the old-fashioned paper towels, where you kind of have this long paper towel and you roll this thing and then you tear the paper towel, which is exactly what I did. And there was a fellow, one of the balabatim, next to me, and as I was tearing the paper towel, said to me, "That's your first," referring to my first Avera on the day of my bar mitzvah. So I remember that vividly. In any event, a quick thought on Parshas Parshas Chukat. So we have in this week's Parsha the death of Aaron HaKohen, also the death of Miriam, but I want to just focus us on a few psukim, very, very striking when you read them. We don't usually pay attention, but when you read them, we're told in Perek Chav Pasuk Chav Dalid that Aaron is going to die. He's dying because Al Asher Marisim Es Pilamei Meriva, and Moshe is told, Vayomer Hashem Moshe, I want you to kach es Aharon. Moshe is told, take Aaron ve'es Elazar beno ve'ha'al osam hor hahar, and raise them up, bring them up to hor hahar. Now it's interesting. It's as if Moshe is told to carry Aaron, kach es Aaron, not just Aaron but es Elazar beno ve'ha'al osam, and elevate them to hor hahar. And then we're told, Aaron is supposed to remove his clothing, and those clothing are now to be put on Elazar beno, and then Aaron's going to die. Aaron Yasef Meisham. The pasuk says, listen carefully. Vayas Moshe kasher tzivah Hashem. Moshe does exactly what Hashem asked. What does that mean? Vaya'alu el hor hahar leinei kol ha'edah. He brings them up to hor hahar, and who disrobes Aaron? Does he do it himself? No. Vayafshet Moshe es Aaron es begadav. Moshe disrobes Aaron from the big day kahuna. Who clothes the son of Aaron, Elazar? Vayalbesh osam es Elazar beno. And Moshe clothes Elazar, the son of Aaron. Vayamas Aaron sham barosh hahar. And there Aaron dies. So what is the meaning of this? It sounds as if when you read the psukim literally, it's like Moshe carrying Aaron and Elazar up the mountain, Moshe disrobing Aaron, Moshe clothing Elazar, and then Aaron dies. First of all, what's the significance of the transference of the clothing of the big day kahuna? And why does it have to be done by Moshe and not just Aaron taking off his clothing, pass them on to Elazar, his son, and now Elazar assumes the Kahuna Gedola? What's the significance of this? So I believe, and perhaps we hearken back to Parshas Tetzaveh, that this has all to do with the role of Kahuna in general, and the role of the big day Kahuna, because Chazal tell us, the Gemara I believe in Yuma, but elsewhere as well, that as long as bigdeihem aleim, if the begadim are on the kohanim, kehunasam aleim, and if they're not wearing begadim, then kehunasam ein aleim. The kahuna status flows from the bigdei kahuna. There's a direct correlation, and if you go back to Parshas Tetzaveh, you will see, and it's crystal clear. We're told in Parshas Truma of the Klei HaMishkan, and how they're prepared, and how they're built, and then how they are anointed for use in the Beis HaMikdash, the Shulchan, the Menorah, the Aron, etc. Then in Parashat Tetzaveh, we're told of the Big Day Kahuna, and then at the end of Parashat Tetzaveh, once again, the Kior, the Mizbeach HaKtoras, back to Klei HaMishkan. What's the message here? The message here is that the Kohanim and the role of Kahuna, and especially Kahuna Gedola, they are Klei HaMishkan. They are Kalim, they are vehicles, they are instruments of Avodah. And that's perhaps why the begadim are so critical. Because what did begadim do? Begadim anonymize. By wearing the uniform of the Kohen Gadol, it's no longer significant who's underneath that clothing. Whether it's Aaron, or whether it's Elazar, or whether it's Pinchas, whoever it might be. What's important is the office of Kahuna Gedola. And they are there to serve. They are there to be avadim. That's their role, to serve, just like the Kalim. Are there as klisharis? The Kohen himself is a klisharis. And perhaps to highlight this point is the same way we anoint the Klei HaMishkan, we anoint the Kohanim, the Kohen Gadol. And perhaps here, when we're passing the mantle of Kahuna Gedola from Aaron to Elazar, Aaron and Elazar both are passive, highlighting and emphasizing that they're Kalim, they're klisharis, they're here to serve. They're avadim. They're here to serve. And in fact, even Moshe Rabbeinu, his greatest appellation, we saw it in Parshas Ba'aloscha, when Miriam speaks Lashon Hara, and he's referred to as Avdi Moshe, Moshe Eved Hashem. That's, Moshe is known as the Eved, the slave, the klisharis. And that's really what the Torah is trying to emphasize. I heard recently from Rav Asher Weiss, I took him to a bar mitzvah. It was a chashav, a meyuchas bar mitzvah. Who was the bar mitzvah boy? The son of a Rav in Givat Zev. His grandfather, Rav Zilberstein, Rav Zilberstein is the author of Harevna and many other Sfarim, Aleinu L'Shabeach, and many, many others. So Rav Zilberstein is the son-in-law of Rav Elyashiv, so it's quite a yichus. And Rav Asher Weiss spoke to this bar mitzvah boy, and he says, you're going to have, now that you're a bar mitzvah, you have the best title of all. You're the most exalted situation. What's your new responsibility in your new title? You are now, I now crown you. I now anoint you. Eved, slave. You're an Eved Hashem. That's what you are now. And that's a great thing to be. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu was. That's what Aaron was. That's what a Kohen Gadol is. That's what we all are. Mamleches Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh. We're elevated by the ability to serve, by the ability to be a klisharis, by the ability to give to Hashem, to serve Hashem, and really to serve all of Knesset Yisrael. And that's perhaps the, as I mentioned, the anonymizing quality of the Big Day Kahuna, is that it turns the Kohen Gadol, into a klisharis. The same way that the klisharis is anointed, and that's perhaps the passivity that you find over here as we're passing the mantle to Aaron, from Aaron to Elazar. So Moshe has to carry them up the mountain, and that's this process. It all stems from the removing of the begadim to the wearing that mantle, the mantle of Kahuna Gedola, which is ultimately the mantle of being a klisharis, of being an eved, of being there to serve. And we all be zoche to wear that tremendous mantle of Eved Hashem.